Hello Honeybunches, welcome to my room tour video. I filmed bits and bobs since I started the moment of making this room feel infinitely more me. So I will show you that journey along with showing you bits and bobs in this space that are special to me. I started maybe August, September time, so it's been a gradual-ish progression into this, I don't know what you call it, I've been trying to come up with words, like it's quite hodgepodge, a bit chaotic, quite colourful. There's like 70s, 90s moments, maybe quite whimsical. If we have to use the word quirky, then you could use that. I think it's quite evident that maybe a creative mind inhabits this space, and it reminds me of like cabins or like, and this is a generalization, but grandparents' homes, and there's a lot of stuff on the walls. Maybe there's a cottagecore influence, which is not a trend I actively pursue, but I think it's all around us. Yeah, it's quite eclectic, and I think with all the yellow, you would say it has a Hufflepuff vibe, and maybe with the stuff on the wall, the coziness, cavernous, enclosedness of it. Yeah, it's a bit of a Hufflepuff nook. I've been really reflecting these last few days since I've finished it. This process has really been a sort of inner child project, or a bit of a TLC moment, or awakening, coming out of that, letting it shine, which is really beautiful. And I think you will be able to see that in comparison to what it was, everything is much more on display and much more visible and much more outward facing, rather than quite rigid and enclosed in bulky furniture or hidden away. And yeah, you can read a coming out metaphor and all of that. Let's wind back to last winter when I started this process, and then I will catch you up and show you around. For those who have watched some earlier videos, you might recall that my room was governed by two mammoth pieces of furniture. The desk was given to me by family friends like in middle school, high school days. It was very practical for that time because it has a lot of surface area, but it is very big and not my style at all. And the bookshelf my dad had made before I was born, he hadn't finished it and they hadn't put it back on it and never got around to doing that. So yeah, these two pieces did sort of have sentimental, or we should keep them, vibes, and it did take a little bit of persuasion to encourage my parents that maybe we could find homes for them where they'd be more valued, and we did in the end. Also the size and sheer bulk of them was a deterrent for us even bothering moving them. But yeah, with my brother moving to London in October last year, I was keen to get his help in moving them before he left, so that's what sort of kick-started this, I suppose. The first couple of pieces I got for my room was this little bookshelf, came with a desk and a mirror as well, set from a woman who was cleaning out her mum's room. It was a children's bedroom in the 70s type vibe, and I really loved it for how it hugs the books and lets them shine. It doesn't swallow them up, and yeah, your eyes are drawn to the books before it's drawn to like the blank space around them. Yes, I know my voiceover is really out of sync, apologies. That paint you saw is called hand-sewn chalk paint, and it's really good. My mum had put me onto it because you don't have to sand what you're putting it on. It's known for going on any surface. I really like purple with gold and with yellow, so that was a no-brainer for picking out some bits I could put purple on. I painted the mirror, which was in the same yellow as the desk that I bought and the little bookshelf. And I also painted this bag hook situation that my dad made for me maybe when I was like 13 to put my school bag on. Yeah, you do have to put quite a few coats on it, and especially on the raffia on this mirror, it didn't apply too easily, but with 3 coats, and it dries super quick, so that's not a big deal. Yeah, it comes up really nicely. Would recommend hand-sewn chalk paints. Top decorating tip. From someone who has no clue what they're doing. Right, so got my brother. He was not overjoyed to be roped into this task, but he did it, and I'm very grateful. Yeah, we could take the shelves off of the bookshelf, which removed a lot of the weight, thank goodness. It wasn't too bad, but you know, my room is up a flight of stairs. It is very pokey getting this downstairs. I do not envy the role of like mover people or delivery people who have to get furniture in pokey places. Like, it is quite stressful, but they probably have a good visual mind. Yeah, this desk is also like ridiculous. It is so solid, so heavy. We were just dragging it and used like a bunch of cushions to slide it over our wood floors downstairs. This is the desk that I got. How cute. It is very small and it was a bit of a readjustment, but you'll see how I work with that. Need a little bit of a clean. I bought this IKEA shelving unit to be my sort of HBOT shop moment in my room. It was advertised as like a plant shelf, but I just picked it as opposed to one that was advertised as an indoor one for the colour of the timber stain. I like this the most, and it also was the perfect dimensions. When I thought I was going to have it on the wall, you see it on there. I'm glad I didn't. You'll see I have a whole reshuffle of this side of the room. It was a bit of a head scratcher, this one, of where do I put everything, because I wasn't sure I wanted my desk in the middle facing the wall like that, because you felt really close to the wall and I just felt like my head was like hitting the wall. But with stuff on the wall and filling it in and adding a chair, yeah, it all came together. This is the chair that I originally bought off Facebook Marketplace. It's not good quality and I really should have just rejected it when I went and saw it in real life, but that's a lesson learnt. Yeah, the support mechanisms are particularly shot. Yeah, my room needed a lot of cleaning up and like filling in a paint bit, so I did that. Bought a new light that would save a bit of space and I could just clip onto the bookshelf and not have on my desk area. And then it was, yeah, just putting the rest of it together and using some bits I already had, playing around with things on the wall. I put a lot of hanging, like little shitty hooks into the wall and then pulled them out and played around with where to put stuff, because it is quite hard with this style of, yeah, wall decoration to get everything to look semi-okay when you don't have everything to begin with. But yeah, that is the semi-chaotic journey to where my room is now. Okay, this is insanely awkward to film with one person, but we're going to give it a go. Welcome to my finished room. Let me show you around. One of the first things to mention is that thematically the two sides of the room are quite different. So this side of the room has a lot more green, yellow, warmish colours. The stuff on the wall is hung a bit more chaotically and is really the more doing side of the room, with the desk, my sort of HBOT storage unit bookshelf. The vibe is a bit more stimulating, a bit more on the go-ish compared to the other side, which has a lot more cool, dreamy tones. Also in the artwork there's a lot more animals, whereas that side there is a lot more green, lush, dreamy, imagination-y spaces. While there's this sort of patchworky style to everything on the walls, and this was sort of incidental, but everything is hung far more neatly and more orderly. And yeah, and I think that really makes sense, this being the sleeping, reading, non-doing side of the room, and the other being a more productive half. Speaking of the more special and new-ish artwork in the room, I have Natalie Byrne's 2022 calendar up here, which doesn't quite go because it's a bit more loud and block colours than everything else, but I love it too much to not include, so I've switched it over to a month that is the most palette-wise, aesthetic-wise matching. But love her work if you haven't heard of her already. This is a small painting I got at an op shop. It's the iconic-ish Swagman scene, which I'm not usually down for the colonious overtones, but the reason I gelled with it was the colours are much more vibrant, and the dude, to me at least, has eyeliner on, and it kind of seems like a queer reading interpretation of that scene. So yeah, I gelled with that. This embroidery piece was another secondhand find. I like that it's fabric, it sort of warms up the wall. My dad helped me by making some sort of hanging mechanism for it. Yeah, and loving the peacock and swan moment. It is quite faded. I don't know that it will be with me lifelong, but she's quite a beautiful, almost regal scene. This one above my bed is almost creepy, this sort of like photo on wood thing. It is a bit of like something you might find in a creepy retro basement that's also a bar like vibe. In moderation, it doesn't creep me out, and it's an artistic interpretation of Merlin and myself. Then this painting my friend did for me and gave to me maybe for my 18th birthday or 21st, I can't quite remember, but I cherish it a lot because it's fantastic. This one has like a Himalayan goat moment in it, and any mountainous scene is very appropriate to help you lull to sleep. I apologise that this part of the room is quite hard to capture because of the light from the window, but yeah, this was another op shop find. I wasn't intending to cover this wall because I was going to keep both sides of the window blank because I thought 2 completely covered walls in this room is enough, but I'm glad I did because it creates kind of a wraparound effect around this chair, and with my wardrobe creating a opposite sort of wraparound effect with my door and then that part of the wall remaining blank. It just makes sense. I instantly really like this for the depth. It's quite relaxing. Has sort of a morning or reflecting afternoon walk sort of vibe, like what is through this framed plant paved walkway. It reminds me of the painting of Ariana in the film Deathly Hallows, that opens and never walks through because it is like a walkway, meaning that it's great for depth, and when you walk in my door, you're not just hit with the flatness of the wall, and it makes the room look a bit bigger. As you might recall, I was a bit stumped about what to do this section of the wall. I was trying to find an artwork that had the perfect dimension, but of course the world doesn't really work like that. We had these 2 cork boards and I just ended up putting on them some bits and bobs that I really treasure. Japanese postcards that I found in an op shop in a country town, Castlemaine I believe, which are really beautiful, and some of my favourite vintage postcards that I haven't been able to part with when packaging Etsy orders. Most of them have animals on them. And then this is a Jessie Cave print, who I really love her humour and is a good reminder when working on things in this productive section of the room. These 2 magazine racks, or children's bookshelves as they were sold as, were one of the things I spent a bit more money on off Etsy. I love that I can display my collection of Women's Weekly cookbooks or any other book and show the cover because, you know, bookshelves you just see the spine. It brings me a lot of joy and gives me a lot of flexibility being able to change over what is in them. But this one is more my like desk stuff one, and it makes my desk so much bigger because the stuff I would just have like in a magazine like foldery thing or in a pile can be put on the wall. It frees up the space, and as you can gather, the desk isn't huge. It's a little kid's desk from the 70s, and it's a set with the bookshelf. But yeah, there's not a lot of space, so it really just helps to make it as minimal as possible. I usually just have my laptop and my pen holder there, and it did take like a month of readjustment because my desk was so big, but we have got there, and now it feels like the perfect size. And now having an armchair in my room, I do split up where I do different things, and so this armchair is in a way a bit of a second desk. Then this bookshelf has become my like HBOT Honeybunch of Onion Top sort of shop stock centre. I have all my cookbooks and things and packing supplies. What you might find interesting is I purchased some pink boxes for mock-up cake boxes for my micro bakery, and look at them. The artwork up here is a little hidden because of the fan, but that's very necessary in this very humid El Nino summer. This was a Facebook Marketplace purchase for like $20. It was from a woman who was cleaning out her parents' place, and she says that is the Murray River, and it's from a guy who did a lot of paintings in and around Melbourne, so that's kind of extra special that that is a local scene, and we love the Pelicans. My bookshelf is considerably smaller than the one I previously had in my room, but because it's so much smaller, I find the books jump off them a bit more, which I like. I am having to start to do this situation. Piles, which I don't particularly enjoy, but that's okay. I prefer this then because nothing is swallowed and it makes everything feel more alive and present and love. And it's sort of ironic because I could never fill that bookcase with enough books, and now I don't have enough bookshelves. This is just a little skincare moment where I put on sunscreen every morning combined with a little mirror. It's kind of nice to have it very accessible and in a place you walk past every day, maybe while you're getting dressed, so there's really no excuses. I have my library book stack and my next to reads on the top there. This might seem like a real small thing, but bedding has always been something I look to in like Frankie magazines, or I don't know, I just noticed a lot growing up, and I was always a bit downtrodden, a bit bummed that my bed didn't have such cool bedding, and so it's a real like younger self proud moment to have such mix match like old granny floral crocheted vibed bedding. I have many other combinations, this is just one of them, but it's also a sight. I don't mean for this to sound weird, but like a lot of love, because I have a lot of quilts that either my mum or my grandmother made that drape over my bed, or vintage sheets that were my grandmother's. So for some reason the bed means a lot to me, that it's what I sort of envisaged or hoped for when I was a teen. Then another very bamboozling, inner child pleasing thing is to have plants in my room. I always thought I just couldn't do that because my aspect was wrong. Also with carpeted floors, I just felt like that couldn't really work. But it can, and everything is literally thriving. This is like only come about in the last couple of months through my grandmother giving me a crazy amount of African violets, which are so easy to take care of, and they're all blooming and they're such generous bloomers. Anyway, generous bloom. It actually is a really great spot. Windowsill is just wide enough and there's no direct sunlight during the day, but it's always very bright, and that seems to suit these guys very well. So it's also very rewarding to have something living in your immediate environment to take care of, or that is low maintenance and is thriving, you know, for your mental health, to remind you that, you know, if you're not doing too well, there's live things on your windowsill, so smile back at them, honey, you are doing okay. This chair is kind of my favourite part of the room because it was so unexpected. I did have a really crappy chair which I was trying to persuade myself was good, that I had bought off Facebook Marketplace before I saw this at an op shop. It's a very great brand, and it's actually a recliner, so she'll be with me forevermore, hopefully in a space where she can recline one day. She's very supportive, in very good nick, and these headrests are great for a nap moment or just staring out into the lush neighbour's garden when I so please. This chair makes me so happy because it reminds me of a chair in Nanny McPhee, which I think I'm not even remembering properly, but armchairs are a bit of a thing in that movie, which I love the aesthetic of, and you might see bits of it in my vibe. The dad, the Colin Firth character, talks to the armchair, which is a pink chair, which the wife used to sit in, who has passed away. And I think his chair is green, and it reminds me of this chair. But it's a great chair to work in. I can put my feet up on the bed and be very comfy. Also, this desk has an extra little bookshelf moment right here. Bookshelves at the end of things, like, you know, in kitchens where they're often at the end of benches or wherever. So it's a taster of that. I kind of put the books I don't love the spines of as much because they're not very visible. There's also like some essential oil blends to whiff if I want to try and relax that way. Some Barks Rescue Remedy, old cookbooks, and also my bins hide here. So my recycle and my rubbish, along with my desk chair, which I've just put out of the room for the sake of this video. The more ugly things you just have to live with. I did try using the chair that came with this desk and the bookshelf. However, there was no padding to it and it was not ergonomic in the slightest, so we're just sticking with the shitty desk chair. There are lots of bits and bobs in this room which make me very happy, and a lot of things that I've had actually since I was like a preteen and have really contributed to that space. So that's kind of really nice. Like, if you're frustrated with the look of your space, maybe you can take from that there's always something you can look to and be like, this is me, I just want more of it, and maybe one day you will be able to create that. I could add more things to the walls, like there is another layer above where I've hung things, but I think unless something's in the category of yes, I want to take that with me and like it's a forever piece, then I'm just gonna be less eager to purchase stuff. Not that this was a very expensive room redo, but you know, it kind of was everything apart from the bed. A lot of artwork, desk, bookcase, shelving unit, armchair, and I think it was about $500, including an armchair that I didn't end up using. There are a couple of things I need to do, like I'm definitely gonna steam clean this armchair, and I'm gonna grow like an ivy along the top of the artworks towards the light of the window. But yeah, that's my space. I think it's also a lovely metaphor that the one thing that has stayed the same in this room since I was a literal baby, because these walls used to be yellow, FYI. I think like the only thing is my curtains, and they are literally like a circa 2000, if not before, situation. Like, I have a vivid memory of my room when it had a cot in it, and I don't know how accurate that is, but those curtains were there, and they are finally like back in fashion, or at least everything in this room is now matching them. And I don't mean to make everything like a therapy link, but it is very nice to like sort of honour that baby me and have an aesthetic that like I feel encompasses all me's, from little baby to adult me. So yeah, it's been really fun showing you bits and bobs. I hope you enjoyed it and it inspires you to show off more of you in your space with the means at your disposal. Lots of love. Talk to you soon. Bye.